Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is an E90 BMW and this wood trim is going to go today. It's probably the #1 comment I've ever gotten on my channel. So the removal of this trim is pretty straightforward. You'd want to start from over here and pry out. We do that because there's an actual hook on this end here that could break if you pull from the other end. If you end up with one of these plastic clips on your trim still, you can just kind of screw it off by turning by hand because it's kind of threaded. It's got some ribs to it. So I'll get rid of all the trims on the doors now. Starting from over here, you pull out. Once you get this out enough, you can push from behind to get the switch forward, like so. Look around the back side, there's going to be 2 electrical connectors. They're on the back side of this switch here. There's a couple tabs you got to push in to get the start button out. Lower your steering wheel down and forward to get the clearance over here. This can be a little temperamental, so you got to make sure that you keep your trim mostly straight and pull straight out. Just be prepared for it to give you a bit of a hard time. Here's a look at the back of the start-stop button. There's a cable that you got to squeeze on the sides and pull it out. Next, I'm going to grab the shifter and pull it off. Using the boot to unclip, I'm going to lift up like that. There's a connector over here. And one over here. Here and here. Using a trim tool. Going to get underneath this from back here. Now underneath the side drive button, there's a connector there. You should be able to get this forward enough. Now you have your harness for your cigarette lighter. So there's all the pieces removed from the car. Let's go ahead and start wrapping. So here's my setup. Just a bit of Windex to clean things off should suffice. So I decided for the forged carbon. As you can see, it should look nice. I'm going to put a link in the description where you guys can buy this if you want to. But let's lay this out and cut accordingly. So this is going to be my first time wrapping. This is an FYI, but I just put some heat into the wrap. This stuff's way easy to work with. It's pretty awesome. So there's the first piece down. Piece of cake, actually. That was super forgiving. That was awesome. This wrap is super easy to work with. It doesn't need heat. It's just really forgiving. It's stretchy, it's thin. And you don't distort the pattern by pulling on it because it's already a really random looking pattern. But man, that's awesome looking. I'll toss that back on the car and we'll continue on. I don't know if I'll film every last piece because you get the idea with one, but wow, that's pretty sweet. So that wrap is so forgiving that I almost feel spoiled. It was really nice and easy to work with. Moving the grill. So this was a bit of an experiment on how sloppy can you even get and still get a good result. I didn't position that properly and I was able to save the piece even though it should have been garbage. So that's pretty awesome. These are 8mm nuts. So one of the only times I'm going to use the heat gun here is just to shrink it, just because there's a bend there. So with the wrap that I'm using, you don't need the heat gun for any type of pliability. It's very forgiving and soft, easy to work with. But if you have an area overstretched and you want to tighten it back up and let it cool down to repress it down, it's perfect for that. All right, last piece. I'm gonna remove the ashtray assembly. Bunch of T10s, just 4 of them. I'm gonna see if I can remove this lid. So I shaved away it's like a plastic rivet. I shaved those away so we can pull this piece out and then we'll put it back in and glue it after. So a couple spots here got damaged, but if you're careful and you use a wedge tool, you can avoid that. I just was using the wrong end here. is pretty fragile around the lip here. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. Try to use this piece here. You're going to be basically snapping these little rivets, and we'll glue it back on after. So I just sanded away those little imperfections. No big deal. In case you haven't noticed, in some spots I've been just slitting the corners just to help with wrapping, but it's not required in a lot of these angles. Next up, we remove the iDrive knob. There's 4 T20s. Okay, so this is my bad. I should have been able to avoid this, but I think I can save it. I'll have to put a seam. But let's start wrapping. So that looks fine. You can't tell actually. You have to really look close. And that busy pattern kind of hides anything. Hides the fact that there's a seam there, so I'm happy about that. But just as an FYI, it's completely avoidable. I just cut them the wrong way. I wasn't thinking for a split second. Technically, the amount of material I purchased would have been exactly enough, leaving kind of no room for error. So keep that in mind. I'm going to put a link in the description where you guys can buy this wrap. So if you want to follow along and have no extra material in case you screw up, then you can do what I did here. Worst case, you have a seam. It's very easy to ignore that and hide the seam. So let's get finished with this piece and we'll put it back in the car. My JB weld has dried up, so ready to reinsert that. Loving it, looking really good. I'm gonna go put that back on the car now. Using my GoPro for a good wide angle shot to give you guys an idea. What do you guys think? I'm guessing this is going to be a little controversial. Some people aren't going to like it. Some people will like it. Looks a little busy, etc. But I kind of like it. So I don't think this closely resembles forged carbon if you had to ask me, but it does look good and it's way better than the wood trim. That's for sure. I know a lot of you guys complained about that, and you know what, I kind of ignored it all these years, but why not try something different? There's plenty of videos on YouTube that show you how to wrap your interior trim, and actually mine is nothing special, I'll be honest with you. But what I can tell you is the wrap that I did use here today was super easy to work with. It was very, very easy to work with. It was almost a joke how quick I got this done. Just admit, you could do this all in like 2 or 3 hours. It's pretty crazy. Super, super easy, and it turned out really nice. So in that respect, the wrap that I'm going to link to in the description was very friendly to work with. Didn't even really need a heat gun unless you screwed up and stretched it too much and you need to pull it back tight. So keep that in mind. You can follow this DIY just to see what it's like to work with really thin wrap that's meant to be used in an interior. But overall, I'm very happy with the look of this. I think it's something different. Maybe you guys will be inspired. So anyway, that's going to conclude this video. If this is the first video you're catching of mine, consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. Thanks for watching. Wow.